Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda and I'll be guiding our practice today. My question for you today as you begin is this: how do you show love to others? Let's go to 1 Corinthians 13, this love chapter. And Paul is writing to a very broken church about how to better love each other. And he tells us this. He says, if I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And he goes on to describe the qualities of love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. And he goes on to list even more qualities of love. One of the devotion books that I continually go back to is Jesus Always, written by Sarah Young. She says this, she says, love is patient. Notice that the very first adjective the Apostle Paul uses to describe love is patient. Of all of those qualities that he listed, patience is first. Written as if from God to us, I treasure this quality in my followers, even though it is not highly visible in most 21st century depictions of love. Patient people can stay calm while enduring lengthy waits or dealing with difficult people and problems. I encourage you to examine your own life to see how you respond to waiting and difficulties. This will give you a good measure of how patient and how loving you are. Today, as we flow, as we open up the tight muscles of the hips, as we release our tendencies towards impatience, I invite you to practice patience on the mat so that you can take it out into the world with you as you love others. Come to a comfortable seated position, maybe elevating hips up on a blanket or a block. Rock a little bit side to side, front to back, finding those sitting bones. Begin to notice any tightness in the hips, any resistance. Maybe your knees are up. Wherever you are, accept it as it is. Practice patience with yourself. I invite you to close your eyes. Let the room around you fade away. Draw your attention to the mat and where your body is on the mat. Begin to notice how the body has settled into the earth, the weight of the legs and the hips. Begin to notice alignment. And perhaps with breath, as you inhale, you lengthen through the spine a little more. The jaw draws parallel to the floor. The top of the head rises with that inhale. And with that exhale, find strength and stability. Lifting up the pelvic floor a little bit. Belly button draws in and up. Rib cage softens. Take 2 more breaths here. The hands come down to the mat and taking a deep breath in, draw arms up as the gaze comes up, palms together, and exhaling, let the hands come down, bowing your head. And just continue here, arms rising and falling. Connect movement with breath and lead with the breath. Next time the hands come down, leave them there and press into that right arm as that left arm comes up and over, and reach and extend and come to the other side, and just begin to think about all of the different ways that the hips are connected to the body. So as you stretch through the side here, releasing that tension at the hip. Maybe anchoring into the opposite sitting bone as the arm reaches. So as the arm reaches to the right, that left sitting bone anchors. And one more time over. Meet me at center. If you're comfortable with it, bring hands to the hip points. Begin to gently tilt the hips forward and back. And remember that at any point in the practice, you can modify. So sometimes things are uncomfortable physically. Sometimes they're uncomfortable for other reasons. At any point, shift the practice to make it work for you. As you inhale, begin to add a little bit more of a back bend. And as you exhale, tuck the chin and round the shoulders forward. So just moving into a deeper cow and cat. Let's add the arms to that. So open up as you find cow. Bring those arms forward, tucking your chin as you find cat. 2 more times here. As you're ready, draw your arms up and overhead. Take a nice deep breath in, get as tall as you can. And exhale, hands to heart, closing your eyes, thumbs to sternum. For a moment, check in here. How does the body feel? How does it feel to sit? Cultivate patience. Try not to anticipate. Try not to hurry. 2 more breaths here. And remove the block or blanket if you're sitting on it. Bring any props that you have to the front of the mat and meet me in table. Fingers spread wide, wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath hips. Again, find that hip tilt, dropping the hip points towards the mat, and then tucking the tailbone. Thinking about those connecting points. Now noticing how the hips connect to the lower back. Noticing sensation in the lower back. As you're ready, deepen it. So as the hip points drop, let the chest come forward and through, tuck the shoulder blades under. And as the tailbone tucks, draw the spine up towards the sky, letting the top of the head come down towards the mat. Back and forth here 2 more times. I invite you to meet me at center. Pressing into that right leg, particularly the shin and the top of the foot. Go ahead and lift that left leg up to the side and just draw circles with that hip. Again, just notice which direction you decided to circle. Notice sensation all the way around. Notice whether or not you can move the hip without moving the body. And as you're ready, maybe go the other direction. I invite you to take that leg out to the side and then bring it across the other knee and up to the sky. And a few times here, just noticing hip mobility, beginning to really use those glutes to strengthen and support those bones. We're just strengthening the glutes so that you can support the bones. Sometimes I take verbal shortcuts that don't really work. One more time here. With the foot pressing up towards the sky, the knee bent, find that glute press, just a very small, tight press. Can you engage the abdominals to support the back? And 4 more times here. Go ahead and bring that knee down so that you're back in table. Draw back to child's pose, and I invite you to turn your fingers under, bring your wrists up, just to provide a little bit of wrist release there. And meet me back at table. Pressing now into that left leg, again, particularly the shin and the top of the foot. Go ahead and begin to circle that right knee. And again, just noticing, which direction did you decide to circle? How does that feel throughout the entire hip girdle? Can you do it? I noticed in this side that I started to lean to the side. Can you do it while you maintain that table in the rest of the body? And reverse the circle. Notice, does that change the sensations? One more time. Go ahead and bring that leg up and across. And then foot to sky. Just cross over, back to center. And can you do this without leaning into that left hip? Isn't it fascinating how the body might respond very differently on each side? And then as you're ready, just hold that foot up towards the sky and 8 glute presses here. Meet me back at table. Drawing the hips back, turn the fingers under, let the wrists rise forward, top of the head to the mat. Find breath. As you're ready, hands to the mat, meet me back in table. Again, press into that right shin and the top of the foot, extend that left leg back. Begin to work through the foot a little bit, curling the toes under, heel goes back, back and forth here. And then as you're ready, flex the foot, engage the muscles of the legs, let that leg lift up parallel to the floor, cross the other ankle, come to the outside of the foot, begin to draw right shoulder to hip, look over towards that extended foot, and then adjust that left hip, finding stretch. And noticing, for you, where's the tension? Is it in the side of the body? Is it in the lower back? Maybe it's even through the front in the psoas. And stay here for one more breath. Come back. Find table, child's pose one more time, maybe turning those fingers under, wrists to sky. Extend the right leg back again, flexing through the toes, and then pointing the toes back and forth here, working through the foot, stretching the calf muscles. And as you're ready, foot presses back. Let the leg rise up, parallel to the floor. Bring it all the way across. Outside of the foot comes to, crosses over. Outside of the foot comes to the floor. Look over the shoulder. And then work with that right hip. Again, noticing, maybe the stretch is in the hip itself. Maybe it's in the side or the back. Settle in and stay here for another 2 breaths. As you're ready, meet me back at table. Draw back to hips. Let's come forward. We're going to work through this twice. Kneeling plank to the mat. Find your Sphinx pose as those forearms are wide. Chest comes off the floor and then pushes forward. Coming down, slide the hands back towards your ribs, elbows up to the sky and towards each other, hips to heels. Child's pose. And one more time, kneeling plank to the mat. And Sphinx to child. Come up to table, curling the toes under, draw knees up to rib cage. And then begin to explore downward facing dog as you pedal through your feet. So can you move the body side to side a little bit? Taking a deep breath in, heels rise. Exhaling, heels come down towards the mat. Find breath. And the next inhale, right leg rises high. Drawing the gaze forward, bring the foot all the way through. Let that back knee tap down and up. Begin to find the psoas stretch, that stretch across the front of the hip and the back. One more time here. Let that knee come down. Stay here. I invite you to bring your hands to your fingertips, wrists high, and begin to lengthen through the spine. So maybe you even come up, I'm hardly on my fingers at all, or maybe you're using blocks, to straighten through the spine as you begin to lean forward. And again, move this outside hip just a little bit. You're going to kind of internally rotate it towards the front of the mat to find your stretch. Go ahead and curl the toes under, bring blocks to either side of your foot if you have them, if you want them, and begin to straighten and bend that front leg. Can all 10 toes face forward? Are your feet still hip width apart? And as you're ready, find your hamstring stretch and let the body come down. So the knee is bent as much as it needs to be. Again, I invite you to cultivate patience. It takes a long time for the body to become more flexible. Small things, like a 45-minute yoga practice, make a difference. One more breath here. As you're ready, go ahead and lunge that leg forward. Toe heel that foot into lizard. So you're just going to take the heel to the mat, toes to the outside. Go ahead and come forward a little bit more. Your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Again, finding a deeper psoas stretch in that extended leg. Stay here. Lengthening through the spine. Begin to let that knee drop out to the side a little bit if you want more. And maybe flexing that back foot, you draw a heel towards hip, finding a quadricep stretch. Your next option is to raise that right arm up to the sky, to sweep it all the way back towards the foot, to press the foot into the hand and the hand into the foot. Full expression of lizard pose. As you're ready, release. Toe heel that front foot towards the center. And raise that back leg up. Bring the back foot to the front. Hands forward, go ahead and lift your heels, drop hips to heels. We're coming into chair pose, so if you need to come into it a different way, that is okay. Press your feet down, dropping the hips, let the arms rise, find chair. For a moment, find the strength, the feet pressing down. The ankle to the knee, the knees to the hips. Strength in the anterior tibialis and the quadriceps. Again, all of these muscles that connect to the hips. Rise up. Find a strong mountain as the feet press down, the arms reach up. And then exhaling, take the hands to the small of the back. So again, opening up a little bit through the front of the body, keeping the legs where they are. If you were standing against a wall, those legs would be pressed against the wall. Begin to lift the spine up and out of the body and open up that chest as you find your back bend. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale, finding forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down. Bring your feet back behind you and plank. From plank, drop down to your knees to come down to the mat, or come down in a straight leg plank. Find your back bend. Maybe you stay in Sphinx. Maybe you move to low cobra. Hands to rib cage, come through table. Tilting hips, curling toes, meet me back in downward facing dog. Notice what you notice. How is the right side of the body different from the left side of the body? How does downward facing dog feel? One more breath here. Taking a deep breath in, the left leg rises high. And gaze forward, the foot comes all the way through the hands and the back knee taps down and up. So now again, stretching through the right psoas. Let that knee come down. Again, maybe coming to the fingertips, maybe pressing the top of that back foot to the mat. Begin to rotate that hip forward a little bit. Can you find the stretch in the front of the hip? Engage the abdominals. Go ahead and bring the blocks to either side of that foot. Raise that back thigh to the sky. Begin to straighten and bend that front leg. Be careful of any injuries that you may have, or any injuries that you may have ever had. So, for example, I've got a really tight spot here in the glute that I have to be very careful of. So one side may be different than the other. Your practice will look different every time you come to the mat. Can you be patient with those old injuries? At the top of the head, come to the mat, find breath. As you're ready, let that front knee come over the ankle, drop the back knee. Go ahead and move the blocks and begin to toe heel that front foot off the mat. Wrists directly underneath shoulders, engaging the abdominals. Find lizard here. So to start, that front foot pressed into the mat, maybe a little extra weight at the base of the big toe. Play a little bit with the rotation of that back hip. Find the stretch, lengthen the spine. If you want more, begin to roll to the outside of that front foot. Just changes the sensation. Find what feels good. Tension, but not struggle. Go ahead and flex that back foot and bring the heel up to the hip if that works for you. Then to find the quadricep stretch. And then press into that right hand as that left arm reaches up. And bring it all the way back as you come to the foot, and the foot presses into the hand, and the hand presses into the foot. And as you're ready, release. And toe heel that foot back. And press through that back leg and bring the back leg to the front. And again, bring those hands a little forward as the heels rise and the hips drop. Fingers come back to the toes, feet press into the mat as the hips rise, stay, or as the hips sink. Stay here. Find chair pose. So again, engaging through the abdominals. Noticing the connection of the body from ankle to knee and knee to hip and hip to shoulder and shoulders to wrist. Noticing the strength, particularly of the quadriceps as they connect into those hips. And then rise up into that mountain. Stretch the body long. And take those hands to the lower back. Again, imagine that the leg and the hips are pressing towards a wall. And open up. Maybe the feet can press down and you can engage the muscles of the legs a little more. One more breath here. And then deep breath in as the arms rise. And exhaling, find your forward fold. I invite you to stay here in forward fold. So maybe you hold on to your elbows. Let that back get long. In this pose of surrender, surrendering the need to push forward, the need to resolve, the need to control, and inhaling patience, waiting on the Lord, trusting His timing is perfect. Beginning to think about how patience plays into the way that you love others. One more breath here. The hands come down, hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down one leg back and then the other, meet me in plank. From plank, come down to the mat. Choose your back bend, find your flow. Move with your breath. And meet me in downward facing dog. I invite you to stay here for another breath. Notice what you notice. Taking a deep breath in, raise that right leg all the way up. Draw the gaze forward as the foot comes through. I invite you to bring that back leg up into needle pose. Raise the leg towards the sky. So nose to knee in the front. Begin to find balance. Focal point behind you. And one more breath here. Release as that left leg comes forward. Meet me in forward fold. And hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down, come all the way up. meeting me in mountain. And I invite you to bring hands to heart. Pressing into that left foot, bring that right leg out to the side. Stay here, and it's a little bit easier if your arms are wide, if balance is a struggle for you, so use those arms. And begin to lift and lower this leg. So my right leg lifting and lowering here, strengthening the gluteus medius. One more time. And then bring the heel up into a quadricep stretch, and maybe the other arm rises. From here, begin to press into dancer pose. So that foot will press into the hand, hand into foot. Stretch through the front of that hip. And then eventually, slowly begin to lean a little bit forward. And just find dancer. As you're ready, release. And shake it all out. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhaling, find forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down, one leg back and then the other. Meet me in plank. From plank, come down to the mat. Hands out wide. Begin to find your back bend. And with breath, glide into downward facing dog. Staying here, notice what you notice. On that next inhale, left leg rises high. Gaze comes forward, bring the foot all the way through. Raise that right leg to needle pose. So again, nose towards knee. Find the pose that works for you. As little weight as possible on those hands as you balance. Maybe hands come to ankles. And as you're ready, just float that right foot back down. Meet me in forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway, exhaling, come down. Come all the way up, mountain pose. Hands to heart. Press into that right foot. Left leg comes out. Again, balance is an issue, use those arms. Find your focal point, let that leg lower and lift. Notice the difference if the toes turn down just slightly. Can the leg move independently of the body? 2 more times here. And bring it down. Find your quadricep stretch. Bring the leg up, heel to hip. Engaging through the abdominals, can you find that stretch in the psoas? Extend that opposite arm up. And then from here, you begin to find that dancer pose. So it starts as the foot presses into the hand. You can use a towel or a strap here as well. And slowly, you find the back bend as the shoulder blades tuck under, as the foot presses into the hand and rises up. And find your dancer pose. 1 breath here. As you're ready, release. Come out of it as slowly and gracefully as you can. Shake it all out. Deep breath in. Stay here. I invite you to bring that left, let's take that left foot behind the right. pinky toe to pinky toe, heels come out a little bit wide. Hold on to that right wrist. So my left leg is behind, my right leg is in front. Nope, hold on to the left wrist. And come over towards that back foot. So again, notice here, if you tend to start bending at the hip, can you change that? Can you find the length all the way? Maybe you press through the big toe of that back foot a little bit more. As you're ready, release. Bring the hands down. Shake it all out. Other side. So you're going to press into the left foot. Right foot's going to come around to the back. Pinky toes together, heels out, hips forward, arms rise. Hold on to that right wrist. And come out and towards the side, reaching to the left. Again, maybe pressing through that right foot a little bit more, that right big toe. Finding as much length as you can in the body. Being intentional about where the gaze goes. One more breath here. As you're ready, release. Hands come down. Feet press into the mat. Deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale. Draw the belly in. Forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down, one leg back and then the other, meet me in plank. From plank, draw down to the knees, child to table. And I invite you to stay in child for a few breaths. So just find a comfortable child's pose. Maybe the knees come a little bit wide or a little bit narrow. Forearms to the mat, head down, find breath. How patient are you? Particularly when it comes to loving others. One more breath here. I invite you to press up into your hands, come to a sitting position and bring those feet wide. Let those knees drop side to side. And as you're ready, come to your back. Go ahead and draw your left leg in. And then bring the heel to the inside of that extended right leg, the inside of the knee. Opposite arm reaches across, so that right arm's going to reach across, leg will come back. So one more stretch here. So your option is to stay here, but there's different places that we can take this. So maybe this leg extends and maybe you hold on to the leg as it extends. So this is going to bring a deeper stretch into the IT band. And then the other option is to pull that bottom leg back and to begin to find the quadricep stretch here. So much going on. Again, just find any iteration of this, whatever works for you. One more breath. As you're ready to release, just bring those knees together and up to center. Draw knees into chest and give yourself a hug. And then as you're ready, shift if you need a little more space. Go ahead and extend that left leg down the mat. Right foot comes to the inside, right knee comes across. Just finding this stretch as you start. Maybe this is enough. If you want more of an IT band stretch, just shift way off my mat here. You're going to extend this leg long. And then if you want that extra quadricep stretch, flex that foot in the back, bring it towards the hip, and begin to find your stretch here. So, when we think about releasing the hips, releasing all of these other muscles around the hip joint. Can you cultivate patience? It doesn't matter where you are in this pose. Find what's right for you and settle into it so that you can slowly become more flexible. One more breath here. As you're ready, bring the knees together again, roll onto your back. Draw your knees in and give yourself a hug. Maybe rock side to side. And hands to knees, gently push the knees away from the rib cage and back in, back and forth here, releasing any remaining tension in the back. Resetting the arch to a natural arch to the lower back. And as you're ready, find Shavasana. So extend those legs long and windshield wiper the feet, and bounce the knees and wiggle the hips. Bring hands up to the sky and let the shoulders drop, and do that again. And let the hands come down to your side, palms up. And as you settle into Shavasana today, I'm going to read you the rest of this from Jesus Always. Patience is listed fourth in the fruits of the spirits, or the fruit of the Spirit. My Spirit will help you grow in this important character trait, especially as you ask Him. Some Christians are afraid to pray for patience. They fear that I'll answer their prayer by subjecting them to severe suffering and trials. However, suffering serves an important purpose in my kingdom, and trials are not optional. They come so that your faith may be proved genuine and may result in praise, glory, and honor to me. I invite you today to ask the Holy Spirit to bring you patience and to trust in God's wisdom and timing. invite you to stay longer if you can. If you need to move on with your day, gently begin to bring movement back. Wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles, turning your head side to side. And that next inhale, bring arms up and overhead, reaching fingers to one wall and toes to the other. And as you're ready, bend your knees and roll over onto your side, supporting your head with your arms. Take another breath here. Pressing into your hands, rise up to a sitting position, eyes still closed if you're comfortable with that. Finding your sitting bones, check in one final time, body, mind, and soul. Noticing what has changed since you came to the mat today, noticing also what has stayed the same. Deep breath in, arms rise, up and overhead, palms together. Exhaling, bring hands to heart, joining me in prayer. Holy God, you are all-knowing, all-powerful, all-seeing. Teach us to be patient. Teach us to trust in you. Lord, as we cultivate patience, help us to love others more fully, setting aside our own will, our own need for control, our own need for our timing, helping us to be patient with others just as you are so patient with us. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you for practicing with me today.